everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Saide and this channel is all about my bullet journal, so welcome. Today we'll be going through my 2018 year of bullet journaling, so I hope you're excited. It's a flip through. And I've used two journals this year, so we'll be looking at both journals and we're jumping right into it. So anyway, the first journal I used was one sold here in the Netherlands, where I'm at, by MijnBulletJournal. So jumping right in, the first thing I set up was this future log. I never used it, so it was a waste. Same goes for key and index. I tried to use it, but I just didn't like going back all these pages and I know the key from my head. That's something that I haven't set up again. Now for my actual spreads, 2018 was about two things for me, I think. And the first one was all about watercoloring. Now I started watercoloring late 2017, I guess. Also in my bullet journal and because of my bullet journal, but 2018 is the year that I really developed a style in watercoloring and also became, well, kind of good at watercoloring. And I've really started to enjoy incorporating more watercolors into my journal. Like I said, the first future log I set up didn't really work because I didn't have any space to write stuff down in. So I ended up setting up another future log that I've also never used really. So February, it's such a difficult month to say. Anyway, February was all about cities and I really loved this theme. It was mostly black and white, but I think it had something really nice. If you're looking to try such a theme, I totally recommend checking out Amanda Rage Doodles because I stole this from her. So yeah, check her out. And you'll see that this is also a month that I started incorporating diaries sort of style into my weeklies. And that's actually the second thing that I wanted to talk about, is how I constantly change up my bullet journal according to my needs, I guess, or what I want to use my bullet journal for. And 2018 was a year where I did that a lot. I tried out lots of different things, while keeping some steady signature things like my mood and time tracker, although they did change later on in the year. But my weeklies ended up changing almost every week, just because I found something didn't work for me in my current stage in life. So I figured, well, that needs to change because I want it to work. And that has been a development that I'm still going through today, actually. I think it's been a very good development because it taught me that it's okay to try new things and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, and I think that's something really important. And now we're coming into April. For April I did this water theme and I made this because I wanted to do the painting of the whale, for which I followed a YouTube tutorial. Check the April plan with me if you're curious about that tutorial. And I actually had these great watercoloring ideas for April, all these great jellyfish and other fish, and I incorporated those for my mood and time trackers. But for the other weekly spreads, it was just a total fail because I was very down in April because of a personal situation going on, and I just couldn't get any motivation to do something else for my other weeklies. And yeah, looking back, it's just such a waste. These pages really bother me, but I'm not gonna rip them out. They're gonna be there, they're gonna represent that phase of my life, and it'll be fine. Now, May is a month where you can see a sort of change in my style. This is the month that I actually wanted to compete in the Great British Bake Off, but the Dutch variety. So I did a baking theme. I wanted to incorporate a more scrapbooky style because I watched some other YouTubers do that and I always loved how those pages turn out. And you will see that for June. And I think even July and August as well, that I played around a bit with my style, what I loved. Especially in those summer months, I played around a lot with style and what I enjoyed. And from it I learned that I really love doodling. Also, I found that simplicity really works for me. So this is something that I try to remember and just incorporate later on in spreads. Oh, by the way, somewhere in the summer I decided to start learning Russian because we were going on holiday to Georgia, country, not the state. It's next to Russia. Most people there speak Russian. So yeah, there are some pages of Russian mixed in there. Again, did some water paintings. And this is also the time I started doing pages that would look good on Instagram. So these washi tapes pages, for instance. So here in July, you can totally see I played around with a scrapbook style. And I love how it looks in July, but it didn't work for me other months. I think it's because I had summer holidays or summer vacation here that it worked out, but if I'm actually planning stuff, I find that giving an overview really works better for me. But if this works for you, well, that's great because I love how it looks, but for me it's gotta be sensible as well, and sometimes that means you gotta change up things. So like I said, we went to Georgia, the country, and I did a lot of spreads on Georgia just because it's really fun to look back to and see where we went. And I wrote a little story on each day, some of it in Dutch, some of it in English, weirdly. Anyway, it's really great to look back to, and I have a few pictures or doodles stuck in there as well as a remembrance. And I would totally recommend taking a bullet journal when you're traveling, just because the memories are so fun. And it's actually a really simple thing to do. The only thing that I took with me is my bullet journal, my favorite markers. I think I had like 5 all in all. And I do recommend bringing a glue stick, just so when you have a ticket or something quirky, you can stick it right into your journal. Now, August is a bit of a quirky month. I had this sort of office theme, but it was kind of all over the place. And as you can tell, at least I can tell from my journal, I used it in all different ways as well. And that usually represents that I'm not happy with layout, or for instance, when I stuck in a sticky note, I just needed room to write down to-dos, which I didn't have in that current spread. So that's a signal that I get, and I change up my spreads accordingly. Wow, and this week was just such a pain. If I look back at it now, the idea I think for this week was great. It was all about those retro style circles, but in execution it was just a whole lot of work, and I think the result's not even that great, and it lost a lot in functionality. So this is something I would not recommend. So that's the end of my first journal. My new journal was the Leuchtturm 1917. And I actually started using it as a place to keep up with my Russian. Or my Russian. It's not like I speak Russian now, but just the stuff I learned in Russian. Because in my other journal, it got kind of messed up and in between all the other pages. So I figured maybe having it in one place might help out. So that's actually what I started using this journal for. And then I figured I could keep using it only as a language journal. But for me, that feels kind of wasteful because I can't. It was an expensive journal and I don't want to throw it away half empty, or at least throw it away. I'm not throwing it away, but well, you get the point. I just don't want to have this expensive journal go to waste, but air quoted, to only languages. And I was actually really curious about bullet journaling in this journal just because so many people have this journal. I figured I would start journaling in this journal as well. So the first pages I did was a quote, which is one I should have tattooed on my head because I just can't seem to get the hang of this quote. And this is my future log in my new journal. It's actually kind of messy, but it is functional, so. Now, October is a month I really loved. It was very simplistic, or minimalistic, however you want to call it. But it was a really functional month. For me, it was just so amazing to have a functional month. And I also did very, very quick layouts for the weeks. So, because I was kind of stressed in October and I didn't want to spend a lot of time setting up my weekly layouts. So they were kind of simple, but they worked out great. Oh yeah, and remember about the Russian? Well, somewhere around October I also decided, why not learn Japanese as well? Just because. What else to do in your free time but learn 2 languages and maintain social media channels and all the other stuff. So yeah, that's been fun. Great ideas. Now, November is a month that I hold very dear to my heart because it just brings out the inner geek I have inside of me that I don't think people sometimes realize how much of me is an inner geek or nerd, however you want to say. And this Lord of the Rings theme just brought it all out, and I think it turned out really great. I decided on sticking with a color theme, so it was a kind of blue-grayish with gold. And I think that really saved it because I was afraid it was going to get messy or, well, be all over the place. And sticking with a color theme has really saved all these pages. So that's something that I really want to do for all my other themes. And then finally, the December pages. I think these turned out amazing. I really went with a full-on watercoloring again. And I think this is something I enjoy doing most. Just watercoloring and keeping it simple. So I think that's my sort of signature that I'm gonna stick with. Or at least for now. We'll see how that turns out. I've actually put up a few more weeklies by now. So if you're curious about those, I will show them in my January plan with me, which I think is coming up somewhere next week. So subscribe to my channel if you want to stay tuned and you're curious about those weekly spreads. Or check out my Instagram because they are on there as well. And that's it, you guys. I can't believe 2018 is almost at an end. But luckily for us, January is just around the corner. and I have a really fun theme for January. I hope it works out because it's a little challenging, but also if it works out, I think it's gonna be a great one. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like. You can always leave a comment down below. I would enjoy it very much, and I will hope to see you guys in another video. Bye bye!